We're live with Harry
Hey.
Podcast and Ian Reclusado, the kind knife, right?
Yeah, it's
Um,
me.
how you describe yourself. We were talking last time about all kinds of stuff, including shamanism and your journey there. But you had a question for me. So,
Yeah. Well, I have been following Harrowings for a little bit now. And I'm very interested in what you are doing. And I understand there is an element of chaos to it, of sort of gonzo, expressionism there. But even in gonzo, like even Hunter Thompson, like he had goals. He had something driving him. He had some sort of fire burning in him. I'm sure he had something he wanted to say, something he was trying to get out there. And I've been curious, like, what your take on Harrowings is, because I can guess till I'm blue in the face about what you might be feeling while you're doing it. But
well, there's the double aspect of harrowing. One is that you are harrowing a field to prepare it for planting. That's
hmm,
what a harrow does when it's dragged behind the mule or the tractor or whatever. And my grandfather farmed with mules up until the 1950s or so when he finally got a tractor. So that agricultural image is in my head because the family had farmed there in North Carolina for 200 plus years. Um, and the family farm's still in the family. My cousin Jared still owns it. So that's part of it. And life itself is harrowing, right? That just, there's horrible stuff happens in people's lives constantly. And a lot of us are kind of overwhelmed by that. And so just sort of dragging my pen over that, so to speak, and trying to see what emerges up out of the field of the fullness, the pleroma. Are you familiar with the pleroma as a concept in Gnosticism?
generally speaking, yes, although it can be, again, taken several ways. So
Yeah,
that is
and
just sort of the underlying quantum flux, sort of.
yeah, sort of like the quantum vacuum, right? From which all things that appear to be emerge and back into which they all fall, as we
Hmm.
rise and fall, like the agricultural kind of image that I think a lot of our, primary civilization tends to stem from, getting cereal grains growing and then falling back. And you get the dying and resurrecting God, right? Dionysus or Christ or any of these types of images of dying and coming back as the seasons tend to do. So
Hmm.
Harrowings has a lot to do with this kind of idea of we're trying to get things ready for the planting and the growing, and I've gone through a season or two of it.
Hmm.
My father having died in April 24 resulted in me then going through a period of time in which I was collecting up stuff to try
Hmm.
to sort of steward his legacy. And I founded the Harold B. Gill Foundation. And then I thought, well, the best thing I could do is use Substack as a medium for republishing this stuff. So I've been republishing a lot of the stuff that he's done.
Hmm.
Articles in the Colonial Williamsburg Journal that had not been put out online already. Those that had been put out online, I made sure I had links out to that. He had a work called A Man Apart, which was the journal of Nicholas Cresswell, who was traveling around revolutionary America, 1774 to 1777, I think. And so that's what's on the front page of Harrowings.
Hmm.
At the top, pinned up there is A Man Apart, so people can drill into that. It was reviewed in the Wall Street Journal. It was pretty good. But I think a lot of it has to do with that sort of wanting to see what emerges from inside me and also what emerges for other people, and in conversation, we find meaning. When I was a student at Randolph Macon, I had a professor, Dr. Noe, who would start his lectures on German literature usually on the idea of the all and how we are differentiated out of the all and
Hmm.
strive for emergence into that from the naive, we become sentimental, right? And I don't know if you're familiar with Goethe and Schiller, and they Schiller wrote an essay called "On the Naive and Sentimentalische Dichtung," or
No, Goethe I'm familiar a little bit with, but beyond that, not so much.
but it's like the Apollonian and the Dionysian. There's
Hmm.
two sort of like factors um, in literature and in life generally, where we have the bright rational side of us, and then we have the other side that's all very chaotic and um, ecstatic, right? The
Hmm.
ecstasy of living and wanting to get as much out of life as we possibly can, as opposed to putting things in boxes. You know, things very ordered and neat.
Yes, yes, yes. It's fascinating. That's
Yeah.
the the Apollonian, the
Mm.
structure, the civilization, the thing that
Right.
creates cultivation, that creates you know rather than just the sort of wandering hunter gatherer, the thing that is like a location and a fortification and walls and a city, and sort of civilization grows from there. It's like we need that structure, but at the same time, if it becomes too much of a box, then it's like the life in it starts to die. And I kind of hear you pointing to that paradox of like needing structure, but also structure being overly heavy on us. I don't know.
Yeah, the creative side of it that we want to have, I think of most of us strive to figure out meaning out of the chaos that we seem to be thrown into when we're born. And for a lot of us, we get these little boxes we stay in. You know, I don't know if you're a George Carlin fan at all.
I am, yes, yes.
Yeah, place for my stuff. Do you know that skit?
Oh, it's been
About
a
him
while. You
flying
remind me.
over, flying into an airport, and he sees all the little houses, right? All these little boxes of ticky tacky, I think is another way of calling it. And
Yes.
you know that we've all got to need a place for our stuff. And you see all these little houses, and they're all little coverings of people's stuff that they've collected together. You know, I've got a lot of stuff. You can see behind me here as
Yeah,
I've been
I can
filing
relate.
over the years. Um, Up there, that's a Warlock's cigar box. Is the collection of like 6 CDs done by the Grateful Dead when they used their original name, the Warlocks, at Hampton Coliseum because
Oh,
in
wow.
1989. So, I didn't go to that show. I'd gone to a couple in 84, but I decided I needed to have that. So there it is, the little wooden box they have for those 6 CD sets. They have I've gotten very completist about certain things. Grateful Dead, one, King Crimson's another. And
Hmm.
yeah, so a big part of what Harrowings does too is to try to enforce some sort of discipline on me where I actually have a practice. Because as
Hmm.
Robert Fripp says in this book, The Guitar Circle,
That's a large book. Goodness.
yeah, it is The Guitar Circle. Um,
Wow.
and it's full of basically his aphorisms and such, but it opens up with this lovely little statement right here, very short.
Hmm.
It says, without a practice, without a discipline, life is pretty much a series of contingent events moving from one situation to another, jumping from one mess to another, or simply sleeping through it all.
Hmm.
With a practice, we develop a structure of acting in the world within which we construct an interior architecture, moving to realize what we are uniquely born to achieve.
Hmm.
So this is Harrowings is part of my discipline, if you will.
Hmm.
And I'm not 100% consistent. I'm consistently inconsistent or inconsistent. Yeah, consistently inconsistent. That's right.
Hmm.
And so what I do is I'll go out on the street and take this little phone and put it out. So I'm filming the passing show. And what that does, of course, is provide me with an opportunity to sort of look out at the world and say, what the hell? I don't understand anything, right? But I'm musing about that and I'm thinking, every single cent we spend, everything we do basically has an impact. And we are weaving together, co creating the world we perceive. And we need to wake up. A big part of the guitar circle and the guitar craft discipline is about being very present to what's happening and trying to be in the moment and be a vehicle for music to flow through. And that's, again, a big part of what I'm trying to do. When I say I want to know what wants to emerge out of the pleroma and what's going to go through my fingertips. And then I also want to pick up and amplify other people's voices. So yours has been one. We've
I appreciate
amplified
that.
you a bit. Um, and I was doing one the other day with my friend Sophie, who's up in the Northeast somewhere. I think in Martha's Vineyard or somewhere up there in Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really
Mm.
know. But she used to be in Georgetown quite a bit. She wrote a book on angels. And so we were talking about pronoia and looking at how, the pronoia concept. Did we talk about that already?
I mean, I'm familiar with the universe is working towards your bent, sort of the opposite of paranoia. Is that
Right, exactly.
my
You're
understanding that? Yeah.
Yeah. She had not heard the word before, but so we started talking about that, how the universe is a conspiracy in our favor,
Nice, nice.
right?
I like that. It's magical. It summons something beyond just the rational, logical, predictable.
Who's to say?
Yeah, yeah.
So, as chaotic as all this can be, and as all over the map as I might be, something's emerging from it, or
Mhm.
has the opportunity to emerge from it. It's a word salad, if you will, which anybody can make anything out of they wish, and
Mm,
project onto whatever.
mhm,
Whatever they have, they might project their shadow onto it. And I find I
mhm.
do that a lot, right?
Do you get
So
attacked?
so what I've said in my paragraph here is one thing is certain, if I haven't had the experiences that I have had, I wouldn't have been here to amplify my friend Sophie or you or anybody else. If there's one thing that I'm doing to serve the pleroma, it is that amplifying the voices of others so that they may be heard by those who might need to hear them. It's just
Mm,
another service I provide. And that brought me to a thought that I haven't actually articulated in this essay yet. I just said, this takes me in many directions, but writing is relatively linear. So let's see where this ends up. And talking is kind of linear too. But
mm.
it took me back to this time when I was working at 1500 Wilson Boulevard, I believe, in Roslyn, Virginia, for the Air Force. I worked for the Secretary of the Air Force and his or her, depending on who was the secretary at the time,
Ah,
Office of Business Management, because that was part of their role. Was that they were the chief management officer for the Air Force. The undersecretary was, and that was one of the hats they wore as the undersecretary. And they have a deputy chief management officer who was actually our boss, a civilian who had come out of the Air Force as a colonel, and he was a sharp cookie. Didn't see much of him. He was like, too high up in the hierarchy for us to really, touch the hem of his garment or anything.
as he passes. Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
Um, but we had a guy who was a highly qualified expert, he had been at Verizon and helped them do whatever they did to streamline their organization, make it more effective and efficient. So he's going to do the same thing for the Air Force's defense business systems, which are all those things that do acquisition and HR and such. And we had this one group that was trying to work on a singularly managed infrastructure with enterprise level security because they
Okay.
had the zeroth principle of the many principles they had. The zeroth one was the enemy is embedded on the network.
Mm, mm,
You had to realize that you were not secure, no matter how secure you thought you were. So they were
mm,
trying to figure out how to do this and lock it up so that nobody could get at the stuff that you didn't want everybody to see.
mm,
So they were building the singularly managed infrastructure with enterprise level security, SMIELS, which if you put the E in the L, it becomes smiles. Everybody in the Air Force loves their acronyms, right?
yes.
They had this group of people who were in one cubicle that was called the Smile High Operations Center. And they had a sign on their thing, speaking of services we provide, that said, sarcasm, just another service we provide. All
Oh,
these bright young
I love
men,
the military humor.
yeah, bright young lieutenant colonels and such were generally the ones that I worked most with. Sometimes colonels, and we would brief occasionally, some of the generals.
Hmm.
But and
Yeah.
it was interesting to do that work. And the military people were coming and going, but the civilians were really the ones who were in the trenches and the contractors.
Hmm.
And they treated all of us pretty much equally, whether we were contractors or otherwise. I was a contractor. So
Hmm.
it's a really good place to work in a lot of ways. Even while I was sort of aware I'm part of this military industrial complex, and I feel kind of bad about that.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Um, the way we looked at it, we were going to make things more effective and efficient so that it would save lives in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because wouldn't we be too powerful for anybody who want to attack us? Nowadays, of course, we go around attacking other people. So I'm not really crazy about that. I'm glad I got out of it in some ways. I just sort of drifted out of it though, and I went over to agriculture and then this and then that. Spend a lot of time over in DHS as well, which
Hmm.
again is trying to make people safe, but you think that effectiveness and efficiency, which were really near and dear to my heart from that Air Force period of time, because it was defense business systems, right? So we wanted to be effective and efficient as much as possible and to use some of the better business techniques that are out there for management. Well, those were interesting to me too. And I like taking all of this knowledge and trying to sort of bend it to the world I'm seeing and doing creative work of some
Hmm.
form or other.
Hmm.
I'm ending up doing a lot of memoirish kind of stuff though, less sort of like fiction writing or something like that. I'm thinking about doing some fiction writing, and I've done a couple of little things that are ish. And I've done a lot of exploring of the concepts that I think are necessary for a future that we can
Hmm.
really deal with, as opposed to what seems to be coming down the pike, which is really unmanageable, right?
Pretty deadly. Yeah.
The way that all this, artificial intelligence is getting away from us kind of idea, even though the idea of consciousness in it, like it's going to suddenly like take over and kill us all if we
Hmm.
build an artificial super intelligence, for instance.
Hmm.
I'm still a bit skeptic when it comes to that because this is bits and bytes on silicon, and it needs us in order to have enough power to continue running.
Hmm.
It gets smart enough that it can actually supply its own power. We may have trouble. We may.
I mean, I I'm rather skeptical about AI. I think we spoke about this last time. It seems to me to be more a pattern creation machine that can mimic some
Right.
sort of consciousness, and we may convince ourselves it is conscious, but it isn't actually, and that's sort of where the danger lies.
Right.
Uh, but I actually want to kind of trace a thread I've been following through what you've been saying.
Mm.
You were talking about the Robert Fripp book and the creation of a practice and a discipline, and you were talking prior to that about the everybody needs a place for their stuff, the structure, the box, the ticky tacky boxes, and to me, like those are the positive and negative elements of structure. Like if you have a structure and it's a discipline structure, you can grow something with it. But if you have a structure and it's just a place to hold and secure and maintain things,
Hmm.
something can kind of go sour in that. Something can kind of like it stops being alive. And the same thing with what you were saying about the military contracting is like you want to have that structure. You want to assume that there's some sort of chaotic uh, enemy element at play in the system that you need to protect against because otherwise you go to sleep. And that's kind of that discipline again.
Hmm.
But then if you have too much or the structure starts being utilized in the wrong way to attack other people, like you're saying, then it becomes, problematic. And so this sort of building of structures and then the collapsing of structures is a fascinating concept. I think. I mean, we're that's basic. That's a lot of the underlying alchemical work. Uh, so,
Alchemical, yeah, that's a big deal for me too.
hmm,
So we're doing an alchemy of
yes,
sorts,
yes, yes.
transforming the dross of whatever we've civilization is sort of poured out to us.
Hmm.
And taking that and refining it, making something good out of it. It's kind of like art. It's kind of like this. What I find very interesting, anyway, in art is how people are making something out of nothing,
Hmm.
and how
Hmm.
nothingness is that fullness, right? That unformed potentiality from
Is
which,
this the pleroma again?
yeah, sort of like that.
Yeah.
And the monad, that's behind it all, which is that
Mm.
infinite awareness and consciousness that preceded everything and is at the same time unconscious of itself.
Mm.
That's an interesting idea. Have you ever read Viktor Frankl?
No, I'm familiar with him and like I know who he is and what he's about, but
Man's
I'm not
Search
read
for
it.
Meaning, yeah. And,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he wrote another one called Man's Search for Ultimate Meaning, is how they've retitled it. But it used to be called The Unconscious God, which I thought was a much better title.
Oh, that is a much better. I would read that one. I wouldn't read Ultimate Meeting. That sounds kind of
Yeah,
like like
probably
like
that
the same
title,
title the second time.
probably to attract people who were not really, turned off by the word God, because a
Hmm.
lot of people are. I
Fair,
ran
fair.
into that not too long back when I was putting out Mayor Baba's stuff. I think we talked a little bit about Mayor Baba before.
Yes, yes. Interesting character. Oh, look at that.
He's fascinating, and I just ran across a book in the bookstore, a used bookstore on him, by Purdom, Charles Purdom, I think, Purdom, but I didn't buy
Hmm.
it. This one is by Charles Haynes, who was the um, director of religious life at Randolph-Macon College when I was there, and he had known Mayor Baba when he was a child.
Oh,
There may
wow.
actually be a picture in here of Charles with him. Don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there isn't.
Is that your main connection to Baba?
That was the first one, and then
Hmm.
after that, I
Hmm.
just sort of explored more and more, and of course, Pete Townsend followed it. That
Oh, oh,
just
oh,
did an IMAX screening of Tommy because it's the 50th anniversary of it,
oh. Hmm.
for a couple of days only in different theaters around the country, and that was an interesting movie to catch when you were like 12 years old. How old I was when I saw it with my sister.
Wow.
Have you ever seen it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I a long time ago, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
very strange. It's very strange. I wouldn't recommend it to a 12-year-old, but I'm sure it was quite the experience.
A little mind bending. And Pete was on it. He was like he had picked up on what was being laid down and carried it on, and it carries on in the theme to this day in his work. There was a album they released during the pandemic, last studio album from the Who,
Hmm.
was just called The Who, and it didn't get a lot of play, but there was a tune on it called "Beads on One String."
Hmm.
It's what Baba said he was trying to do. He was trying to bring all of us together like beads on one string.
Hmm. Nice.
And the warfare and the kind of chaos we're seeing from the Iran war that was started up,
Hmm.
that's on our minds a lot. This just sort of makes us sick to our stomach that we're doing this again, and
Hmm.
it doesn't seem like there's any end to it or any real plan for what it means to what victory would look like.
No, I don't think we have any
It's just
idea.
more slaughter and deprivation, and that was one of the things that Robert Fripp puts out through Discipline Global Mobile, which is his organization that puts out his music, is an aphorism a day, and today's was, "Our enemy is our friend."
Hmm.
How?
That's a
I
good
don't know. I'll
question.
put it over to you because I want to put the spotlight back on my guest, not on me.
Oh, sure. You're like, here's this complicated bit of word puzzle. Figure it out. I'll figure it out. That's fine. Our enemy is our friend. Our enemy is our friend because they're humans like we are, and if we see them as our enemy, that's to mistake their humanity. Our enemy is also our friend because as our enemy, they show us what's important to us. I think they show us, to the extent that they are actually an enemy that we are confronting and having some sort of a violent disagreement with. It shows us what lives inside of us. They help us see who we are. Those of us, I think, who maybe are against the war, seeing it happen, if our enemy is the happening of the war itself, reminds us how precious life is, and that's not easy to come by. It's easy to forget, I think.
Yeah, and I guess, because my enemy is my shadow.
Mm. Oh, there's a good Young quote.
Right?
He's riffing on the like uh oh, is it love your neighbor as yourself, or oh, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something like that. It's like to love your enemy, to care for your enemy, like turn the cheek. And Young says, what if the lowliest enemy is myself, is the way I treat myself? How do I like come to love the darkest parts of myself, or the most rejected parts of myself? And I'll turn that over to you and see if you have any
Yeah,
answers.
yeah. I think I don't know that there is a quote there somewhere that I also have heard, and it's something along the when you said lowest, it reminded me. Actually, it's probably bringing up Melville for me. You
Mm.
read Moby Dick?
Yes, which I have not read, but I do know who he is.
Oh, yeah. Well, when Herman Melville has Ahab being on the deck of the Pequod during a night storm, raging at the storm, that he comes
Mm,
before this personified impersonal that is in the teeth of that is that storm, right?
mm,
Here
mhm,
stands a personality in front of that personified impersonal, he says, and you can smite me, but I can be
mm.
ashes. And, that kind of defiance in the face of the supernal power, I think is the way he puts it. I come, you know, and yeah, the defiant worship of a deity that is behind the storm, that huge force that not only brings you into being, but will also consume you at the end of life.
Mm,
Terror of being alive, that harrowing experience of being alive in the world and all of the things that can be happen to you, you know, um, it's just daunting to be thrown into that, but being aware of it and awake and alive for it at the same time, to be present for it all, not just the comfort, and the happiness and the contentment of being with your friends and enjoying the warmth and fellowship that we can find on Substack, for instance.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
Ram Dass said we're all just walking each other home, but we're walking each other home through a terrible storm. And what's popped into my head now is this picture by Cam Sosin. Do you know the painter
Mm-mm.
Chaim? I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Mm.
Uh,
Chaim, I think.
yeah, Cam and
Chaim, yeah.
S
It's that guttural.
O U S S I N E. He's kind of unique among what I would call probably the expressionists of
Mm,
after the impressionists. And there's a picture of these two little kids walking through a country field, like and the entire like surrounding, it looks very threatening. And
mm,
and it just reminds me of that we're walking each other home through this kind of like stormy weather. And trying to hold on and with each other through all that, with our enemies as well as our friends, and
mhm,
maybe coming to understand that our enemy is our friend, and that we need to stop, you know, the, ourselves from doing the thing that is so horrific. And I don't know what's going to take for us to do that, but it is something I aspire to at some level. I don't know. I
Yeah,
sort of
it's
it's
I think
bringing all these images out of my old brain here.
Eris is busy today.
I had a lot of stimulation today in the aspect that I went out to the exhibit at the Phillips collection that's going on right now. The members preview day was on today. On the
Hmm,
21st, it'll open to the public. It's called Jean Moreau in the USA, I think.
hmm.
Do you know Jean Moreau?
I'm
The
familiar with this work, but not
yeah.
don't know much about him yet.
Sometimes I think he's putting us on, but
I feel like that a lot of the really abstract guys. Yeah.
well, he has some that are just like a big jagged thing across one huge painting. I remember in Barcelona, I saw his foundation there, and a lot of those paintings have come into this one. Not the biggest ones, but yeah, it was just like my wife is not a fan of abstract art at all. She thinks, if she could do it, she's not interested. She wants things that she couldn't do herself.
Fair enough.
What else are we going to talk about today? What's been going on with you since the last time we talked?
What's been going on with me?
Hey, how's business?
How's business? Business is slow, man. I'll tell you that. I my day job is training AI. I do contract work for AI companies,
Oh, interesting. I don't
and that
see.
has just been very slow. And the thing I'm super focused on right now is my sort of guidance services, coaching services. I'm
Right.
still trying to get the words around those. I'm looking for clients. I'm looking for donation based clients. I just want to get some hands-on practice with people. I'm thinking of myself in like the old kind of guild structures of like apprenticeship, journeyman, master. I'm just sort of starting my journeyman. I'm trying to get out in the world. I'm trying to see what I can do. I'm trying to like offer my goods and services to people, see
Mhm.
if there's an interest, see what develops out of it. And the goal right now is to find people who are interested in working with me, some around something that they've been stuck on for a while that maybe isn't necessarily too emotionally intense. Although I think I can handle those as well. But people are usually cautious around that, so I respect that. Um, and just kind of dig into things. So it's my hope I can find some people, and I'm looking to open up 5 spots during my week right now. That's the plan, and if I can get 5 people in, then great. Anybody's interested can contact me through the Kind Knife, Ian IAN at the Kind Knife. Here, I'll put it in the chat since we have a chat here.
Yeah, why not? I don't see any interaction on the chat yet either. So it's not
But maybe
something.
we're just too entertaining. People don't want to ask questions. They're just partaking of the flow.
Yeah, well, maybe talk a little bit more about what the offering is.
Um, I have sort of two working definitions that I'm still workshopping. One is that it is a bit of just a dialectic question and answer around whatever particular problem you have been stuck with in your life for a long time, um, which is oftentimes a place that we don't actually think we can go. And yet, if we go with someone else, that opens up the possibilities in a way that going on our own can't do. You can see a lot better. If you cover up one eye, you lose a lot of depth. If you have two eyes and you're not one of those people that don't have depth perception, which I understand exists, but for the sake of metaphor, you can see how things relate a lot better when there's a second consciousness involved. So there's that. If I want to be super wordy and descriptive about I work with a psychoshamanic somatic alchemical process of imagination to help people discover their inner wilderness and the beasts that live there and make friends with them so they can trust themselves. Our enemy is our friend. The enemies that are inside, you can make them your friend too. And that's what I'm all about. That's what I want to help people do. The most obvious enemies we have are the things that irritate us about our life. Oh, I want to do this thing and I can't do this thing. I mean, you were talking about wanting to write fiction and sort of being stuck around that. And it's a small thing, but maybe there are roots to that particular thing that would be worth delving into. Something like that.
I
People want to go to the gym and they can't do same kind of a thing.
didn't
Good.
necessarily say I want to. I say what I've ended up doing is writing mostly memoir.
Well,
Um,
I sense some sort of a
and I've done a little bit in the fiction,
friction in there.
but not. It's not really what I'm designed to do. I don't think.
Okay, so you don't have a desire to do that then.
Not so much. I mean, if I did, I'd probably do it.
Okay.
I tend to follow my desires to the excess. I think to some extent, my desire to do the passing show has been really kind of strong, but my desire to do editing thereof is nil.
Mm.
So I have this raw, unedited, particularly not very polished body of work being generated out there,
Mm.
which could be picked up and used by somebody else potentially. And
Mm.
I guess that's sort of what it's for. It's kind of like you throw that out there, you do your work, and then if somebody else can make use of it, wonderful. If they can't, oh well, doesn't matter. It's not for
Mhm.
them, maybe, or not. It's not for anyone in particular. It's
Well,
kind
what's the discipline and craft of the passing show of this work? How do you
of,
hone it? How do you
you don't.
improve? Like
You don't. That's
you
the thing.
don't.
It's raw,
It's just
undistilled, absolute. There it is. So warts and all, and then you let it go.
fair
It's kinda
enough.
like the improvisational music, right, that I like so much. There's
Mm.
one band in particular that I enjoy catching when I do, which is never the same twice. It's called the Everyone Orchestra.
Oh,
Its
well,
conductor, Matt Butler, gets together and he'll throw up a whiteboard that says D on it, and the band will start jamming in the key of D, and that will be where they go, and then he'll, get another idea, write it on the whiteboard, throw it up, and they'll start doing whatever his direction is, and they'll pull some instruments further. And when somebody else is going somewhere, he'll pull them in and have others sort of like get in support role. So the leads vary, and the music that's produced is one night only, unpredictable. They don't know what
mm,
to end up with at the end of the night. They've got some, I think, some general structure to go with, but it's very loose. And I like
nice.
that. And then, if it's recorded, great. People can pick up that and,
Hmm.
they put out a few CDs and such, but basically it's just here now. So
Nice.
yeah, that's what the discipline is in my view, and the passing show as well, which is more of a video thing. And it's kind of a jam. I don't know if you caught anything else I've done, but I had Brian Hassett on not long back, and he wanted to
Mm,
talk about one battle after another.
mm.
This was pre-Oscars, and I don't know if you saw the Oscars, but one battle after another like took Best Picture and Best Director, and
So
some
I've heard.
took
Yes,
six,
didn't watch, but so I've heard. Yeah.
six total, and he was really high on it. So we just jammed on that the whole time, and he was going over. He's seen it like 9 times now. He thought it was such a great movie.
Wow. Wow.
And he's really getting to film studies and he's an autodidact.
Mm,
So, yeah, that was one thing. I mean, I think I may have mentioned Brian last time we talked or so. He wrote this one, which is a
mm.
Hitchhiker's Guide to Jack Kerouac.
Nice. Brian
Um,
Hassett. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So the introduction by John Allen Cassidy, which is Neil Cassidy's son, I presume. Um, yeah. So I think it's kind of
Cool.
a fascinating guy. And so, when I get somebody like that, I can amplify it. And I can, when we start talking, it just so that, we go all over the place.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
quite a lot of fun. Angel Woods says it's a great read. So that's good. So we're getting a
Awesome.
little bit of feedback from Angel Woods.
Yeah. Thanks, Angel. Good to have you with us.
Wi Fi reception on my end these days. That's funny. Yeah. Um, and that can be a problem sometimes for me too. I haven't had much problem with it lately. Usually I'm pretty good and I don't
Mm,
have, choppy video or pixelation or whatever that I
mm.
notice. But I guess it could happen depending on where I am. Sometimes I do lose connection or something that could happen when depending on where I'm going. But I just love the idea of being able to pull in raw material that somebody might be able to pick up and use later.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what my father did, right? He was picking up and using
Mm.
the records that were left behind by merchants, tradesmen, um, wills and inventories of people, to try to put flesh on the bones of the people who had inhabited 18th century colonial Virginia, particularly
Ha.
period, pre-revolution. And one of the things he did was to take the York County records that survived the Civil War, the James City County records of the other half of Williamsburg. Well, one half is in James City County, one half is in York County. But he took the York County records that survived and applied statistical analysis supported by computers back in the 70s to these records so you could, basically build out a set of plat maps of the properties, um,
Huh.
actually going out into the swamp to find the property lines and things like that. So,
Oh wow.
doing hands-on, real-time kind of history work, research. And
Nice.
so I'm providing fodder for that for people who come along 200 years from now,
I was gonna say.
700 years from now, if there are people to be doing that. One of the things I often think when I'm doing this work is I'm capturing what was happening here and now, right before whatever is about to happen. So you can see the kinds of patterns that were happening in this area right then, and maybe somebody else is doing some other, capture, and this raw material is being put out there. Citizen journalism, I call it too, where I'm
Mhm.
capturing who, what, when, and where. Not a lot about how or why, and certainly why is just like because, right?
Hard to pin down.
Their choices we're making, right? That's why we really
Mm.
boil down to it. And that every cent we spend, I've been saying this for at least a decade. I'm finding in my memories in Facebook little clips of where I've said, every cent we spend is a vote for the kind of world we are co creating.
Yeah.
Because we are Homo economicus, and the primary way we have of influencing anything in this consumer economy is by our spending.
Mm. Mm.
So that's a big issue, and I think that a lot of people are not very conscious or aware, and that goes back to Guitar Circle, right? Being aware of where your body is in space and time, and what
Mhm.
actions are you actually doing? It's I move my hands around, for instance, the molecules are being pushed around the room, and by every in breath, as my old instructor, physical trainer I used to say, you're pulling the farthest star in the galaxy towards you with the in breath and pushing it away with the out breath, simply because of cause and effect.
Mm. Mhm.
So, if we're more mindful of that, of the influence, of the power each individual has to affect the world we're in, maybe
Mhm.
we'll take a little bit more responsibility for it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's scary for me. I love the idea, and I'm like, what kind of effect do I want to have? What kind of effect can I have? How
Yeah,
do I decide? How do I control what the effect is? Decide that it's a good thing?
you
Can
don't.
I? I don't think I can. Therefore,
But,
what action do I take? You
but
know?
being responsible, being kind, loving, and having a good heart has a lot to
Mm.
do with it. And we're not, it appears, being very effective at steering our society in general in positive, constructive ways. We're very destructive because we're self centered.
Mm.
And we need to be other centered. We need to think about the impact we're having on other people. What I come back to quite often on this one that pops into my head is Aretha Franklin in that scene in the Blues Brothers where Matt Guitar Murphy is being stolen away from her little restaurant to go off and play guitar with the Blues Brothers again.
Hmm.
And she says, you got to think about what you're doing. You got to think about the consequences of your actions. Right? And it launches into that scene, think what
Hmm.
you're trying to do to me. Uh,
Hmm.
and I really wish we would think about what we're trying to do to other people around the world and how we specifically, individually, particularly in the United States of America, are responsible. Each of us has a responsibility. We stand convicted of the slaughter of innocents. For
Hmm.
what purpose? I
Nothing
don't
I'm
know.
interested in.
Well, I could rationalize this, and Baba helps with that to some extent in saying that, that it's all play. So don't take it all too seriously. Don't worry,
Hmm.
be happy. Did we talk about don't worry, be happy before?
I don't think we need to. I completely agree.
That's the thing. It's all part of the plan. And I could take my hands out of the machinery and say, "Oh, not me. It's God's will that everything is happening the way it is." But I don't think that's really, I think we are all part of that one thing. We're all part of
Hmm.
this aroma, this monad. We are all iterations of that one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Having my computer dull down there so I go dark for a second.
Ah.
We're all manifestations of that one. And we all have that breath within our bodies, and we're all pretty much equal nodes on the network. That's
Hmm.
my little things, right? That I'm a node on a non hierarchical network. And I pick up signals and I amplify them out.
Mm. Nice.
So
Yeah.
amplification of signal.
And choice of which signals to amplify.
Well, choice or I don't know, kind of random. It's kind of like
Well.
if it hits me and an action potential is moved, right? So it isn't all that conscious, right? It's not a conscious choice as much as it is, oh, it affected me enough that I want to move um,
Mm.
in that direction. You've contacted me. It didn't take a lot to nudge me towards action, right? Just
I
gotta
appreciate that.
But
Hmm.
how it's hard to ask. It's hard to ask people for help,
Mm.
for, the ability to amplify somebody else's signal through the void. I
Yeah.
think it's important that we do it. I wish more people did it. I think that in Substack, we've got a wonderful platform for this, by the way. And if anybody's listening here, I hope that you will think about this. You can hit the restack button. You can hit, a note and actually type something in response to somebody that moved you. And by not doing that, we're basically all just sort of like coasting along, like so many little droplets in the under the microscope. When you see Brownian motion of little things moving around. Familiar with Brownian motion? You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah. Just like.
Pick up inanimate dust and put it in water and then look at it through a microscope. And because of the shape of the jiggle of water molecules, things move around.
Hmm.
It looks like
Hmm.
they might be alive, but they're not. They're just being jostled by the water molecules, with their structure being what they are.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's fascinating.
are we animate?
Things.
Are we do we have enough action potential to actually help one another get the message out, to network together in such a way that we can maybe stop the machinery that is, you know, grinding on and churning up so many
Mm.
people,
Hmm.
just like so much fodder for the fertilizer, right?
Hmm.
Field. It's horrific how we grind on, right? There's a couple of things that have sprung to mind now. One of them is E.M. Foster's The Machine Stops. Ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
E.M. Foster wrote this thing about I don't know, like first part of the 20th century.
Mm.
And it was so science fictiony, and he was envisioning a time when we lived in little places like my bunker, where we had little screens, and that's where we interacted, like we're doing now. And the machine basically fed us. So technically, we could do this, and we did it during the pandemic. But the machine stopped, and
Mm.
people had to go out into the world and learn how to go out into the sunlight and you know get what they needed. I guess I didn't read the whole thing, but I have it somewhere. I
Nice.
have to dig it up. But the other one was Metropolis, the film by who
Oh, the
Fritz.
early. Yeah, 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 yeah. I have seen that a while ago, but I've seen it.
And the idea is that the machines are grinding up uh, the workers. And that hellish vision that what Fodor, I think was the name of the lead guy,
Mm.
fallen in love with Maria, the worker's daughter, who was leading the workers towards a situation where the heart managed to be negotiating between the head and the hands. The you know
Uh-huh. Maybe I haven't seen
the
it because I don't know.
the and the workers. Anyway, it's a robot, Maria, that they try to foist on the people that drive them towards wrecking the machines, and that's bad.
Do we want to wreck the machines or do we not want to wreck the machines?
Well, there's the thing, it takes there's consequences of our actions. You got to think about what you're doing. You got to think.
Hmm.
That's going back to Aretha Franklin.
Hmm.
And do you want to wreck the machines, or do you want to try to use the machines in such a way that they aren't going to end up destroying the people? I don't know. I don't, and South by Southwest just happened recently. Did you happen to see that by any chance?
No, I'm familiar with it, but I don't. Uh-uh.
There's one by Amy Webb who declares a funeral for the trend report
Hmm.
for future emerging stuff because it's all moving too fast. But they're now looking at it more that there are storms and convergences that are going to likely happen, which are going to transform the world in ways we can't predict. Um,
Okay.
so that was worth seeing, I think, and kind of chilling. I can't summarize it off the top of my head, but I did amplify it out there, and hopefully
Nice.
people will pick up on it. And that's funny. I ran into in that used bookstore I was talking about a minute ago. Earlier today, I ran into a book of hers from 2016. Again, didn't buy it. My wife is happy about that because I've got way too many books
I have the same issue
here.
with the books, not the wife. She's my thankfully doesn't seem to bother too much.
She doesn't bother her? Well, it would get to the point where there's no room for more books. That's the problem.
I may still achieve problemhood in that case.
Yeah. I was looking to see if there's anything else here. Oh, this is a person I had on not too long back. Have you heard of Amy Neumann yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
She's into AI too, so you might want to check her out. This Empower Your Nonprofit is simple ways to co create with AI for profound impact.
Hmm.
And that was a good one. Somewhere around here, I've got her other book, which is about ways to change the world. She's got 500 ways to
Hmm.
change the world in that one. I don't see it handy right now. I also had this lady on recently, Sophie Burnham. I may have talked about that a little bit.
Hmm.
It's her book
You
on.
mentioned the book about angels, yeah.
This is the Angel Letters, which is, I guess, a book of letters that came to her from people who were influenced by her book of angels. Yeah. So that was kind of nice. She's a good friend of Julia Cameron. Have you heard of Julia?
Hmm. Yes, I've done The Artist's Way a number of times.
Okay.
Good stuff. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
we're old friends and about the same age group. I don't know about the artist's way. What do you think? Tell me more about that.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. I did it for the first time after a breakup in my mid 20s,
Oh yeah.
feeling a bit lost, and I was suddenly finding myself doing like uh, art. I was taking photos, I was making things, I was putting patterns of tape up on the wall in these interesting sort of geometric shapes and things, and I was making my immediate life more beautiful because of what what that book helped me come to. I mean, it's kind of like a 12-step program for not being creative. Like it helps you get into the reasons behind your like if you want to be creative and you kind of can, it helps you get into the reasons behind why you can't. And I think the two practices she suggests: morning pages, which is every morning you get up and you write 3 pages in a little notebook, and
That's where I
that's
fall down.
great. What's that?
That's where I fall down. I cannot do that. I've tried. I've really tried, but I cannot
Yeah.
discipline myself to write 3 pages of just writing. I end up with just a line going across the page after a while because I don't have that many words, believe it or not.
I don't know. I think your word to pen conduit is maybe maybe jammed up because you're good with the words. I've seen you.
I like fewer words better.
Mm,
I think there's way too much talk.
mm.
Talk is cheap. We talk and talk and talk, and what we do. When all
Well,
is
that's
said
true.
and done, a lot more is said than done, let me tell you.
Well, as I'm sure Mr. Fripp has said, you have to have an aim. There has to be something you're attempting to achieve, and then you can refine that aim over time.
Maybe. And, I don't know that the idea of progress and doing versus just being. What do you
Hmm.
think?
I mean, I don't think it's an either or. I think if you just be and you don't do, then you stuff happens and you're sort of like okay, and there's that like you were saying, it's all play, right? And that's true. But
Well, yeah. Yeah,
at
that's
the
where I
same
like
time, we can
I
build something. We're not powerless in the whole situation. But then where does that power exist is definitely a question I don't have answers to. Something I want to find.
again.
If everything is play and we're just being, that's one mode.
Mhm.
I think we do have within that the ability to do something, have some sort of an aim, some sort of a goal. It may not turn out the way we want it to.
Goal-oriented.
We make plans and God laughs, but we also our plans have an effect on us.
Yeah.
The stories we tell ourselves about the world have an effect on us and what we're able to achieve and do. And I think to ignore that effect exists is to cut ourselves off from some sort of responsibility that we have, some sort of creative potential that we have. Say, if the word responsibility feels too heavy, the ability to contribute. How do we contribute? What do we contribute? What's a positive contribution look like?
Yeah. It certainly does seem like we are imprisoned sometimes, and freedom is something I think a lot of us crave to be
Mm,
set free from our. But then, when my wife had a stroke, I was
mm,
never more like committed to a practice of there were certain things I was going to do, and because she couldn't do for herself.
mm,
So, in
mhm,
some ways, when you're of service, I think that does help a lot to feel like a human that is purposeful, to have
mhm,
meaning and purpose in life.
mhm,
And I guess love is the thing that really should be generative, right? For all of us who are brought here as out of acts of love making. And as we emerge into the world and are thrown into this state, which I don't know, the Gnostics would tell you that this is all, basically some sort of mistake.
right. Black Iron Prison. I remember we bonded over Philip K. Dick originally. Some of his exegesis is Gnostic focused. I don't.
And yeah, and that there's some sort of presence we can transcend through this.
Mhm,
Maybe we are here to sort of suffer through. That was one of the things Sophie talked about, that we are actually
mm,
in a world of suffering, and to not try to avoid the suffering, but learn from it. And
mhm.
as we're getting older, and her latest book is called The Wonder and Happiness of Being Old.
Nice.
Not just getting older, but being freaking old. No denial there, right?
No, no, no.
I
Kind
like
of, kind of can't.
I like that. I think that that's something that we all ought to aspire to. I've wanted to be a geezer for a while now. That's sort of my long term goal too, is to then eventually get to the. But I don't know. There's also the puer aeternus
Yes,
archetype that Jung talks
yes.
about being Peter Pan and wanting to play the whole time and never wanting to grow up.
Hmm.
So I think that is also operative, and an awful lot of us, and the balance of these things, from the sage to the eternal boy,
Hmm.
both and right. I think actually Lao Tzu is called the old boy.
Yes, I think that's what Lao Tzu means.
Yeah.
I've heard. I don't. I know. No, can't
Mhm.
say for sure. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think what I hear you talking about there is like the Gnostic, the sort of the world being a prison or false. Like the way I try to picture it for myself is like I'm a spring. I'm a fountain of clean water. Somewhere in me exists this. I'm not necessarily in touch with that, but it's in me. And if I can get in touch with that and let it flow out into the world, then I am loving. I am outwardly focused. I am caring for people, and I'm clearing the things in me that block that from happening. And then I become a source in the prison of something that is out of the prison, and I can help that manifest in the world more strongly. But it's something in me that I serve rather than something in me that I enact or enforce upon.
Yeah, the service again.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the thing, right? Um, I remember my old uh, um, friend in the Fellowship of AA,
Mm.
Buddy Norden, who said that when it came to writing, that's the presence that he wrote for was a spirit of loving kindness. That was the presence that he served.
Mm.
Then, but it is actually sort of a transcendent presence within us. And I guess that's the thing about Gnosticism, right? That we're all little shards of divine light embodied, imprisoned in bodies, that it will be remerged into one thing at the other side of this, where the other side is all love. John
Hmm.
Perry Barlow talks about that, in fact, in his Love Forgives Everything talk on TED Talks, is a TEDx.
Mm.
And somewhere in this stack, I have his memoir. Yeah,
So
there.
you're not kidding about having all the books.
I see it down there. Yeah. I'm going to move these out of the way.
Fair enough. Well, I'll take the opportunity to complain a little bit about the Gnostics because I think I do not like the idea of this world being a prison. Ooh, nice.
Mother American Night.
Excellent.
If you haven't picked this up yet, I highly recommend doing it because this guy lived it in a major way.
Hmm.
And, he's the founder of the Electronic Frontiers Foundation, one of them.
Oh, wow.
He was a cattle rancher, former lyricist for the Grateful Dead, co founder of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and he was a regular contributor to Wired magazine for many years and one of the founding directors of the Freedom of the Press Foundation edition. His brilliant, funny, and heartbreaking memoir tells the story of a uniquely American and enormously panoramic life, a self confessed acid head who took more than 1,000 trips. Barlow wrote the lyrics for 30 Grateful Dead songs while also serving as a campaign manager for Dick Cheney's initial run for Congress. A
Oof.
member of the Internet Hall of Fame, Barlow co founded the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Freedom of the Press Foundations, and he was blessed with an incredible sense of humor and a unique voice. Barlow is a born storyteller in the great tradition of Mark Twain and Will Rogers. I may have done this before, but I'll do it again. And that is to read his Rules for Adult Behavior. And
Nice.
it's a short chapter,
Yeah,
21.
feel free.
Adult behavior. On October 2nd, 1977, I had a forehead slapping realization that I was about to become an age above which nobody could be trusted. In other words, 30. In fact, I'm still not sure that it makes good sense to trust people over 30. While I had no aspirations to become a grown up, again, puer aeternus, right? And I
Mhm.
think we all know what that is. I did want to be an adult who was regarded as responsibility again,
Mhm.
no longer excuse my picadillos on the basis of youth. They had fallen um, into a less pleasant category, like bad manners. I went to bed on the eve of my 30th birthday only to realize all this, and so I got back up and spent the balance of the night composing a list of advisories to myself that I called Principles of Adult Behavior. Most of them were blandly inarguable, the sort of platitudes that Polonius had laid on Hamlet. Because I had advocated avoiding the pursuit of happiness, this particular homily served to actively piss off the broadest range of folks you can imagine. Over the course of the ensuing years, I've done my best to keep the list posted wherever I am. And so I'm going to include it here. 1, be patient no matter what. 2, don't badmouth. Assign responsibility, not blame. Say nothing of another you wouldn't say to them. 3, never assume the motives of others are to them less noble than yours are to you. 4,
Goes far that one. Go ahead.
expand the sense of the possible. 2, don't trouble yourself with matters you truly cannot change. 6, expect no more of anyone than you can deliver yourself. 7, tolerate ambiguity. 8, laugh at yourself frequently. 9, concern yourself with what is right rather than who is right. 10, never forget, no matter how certain you might be wrong. It's one of my favorites. 11, give up blood sports. 12, remember that your life belongs to others as well. Don't risk it frivolously.
Good
13,
adult
never
advice.
lie to anyone for any reason. Lies of omission are sometimes exempt. 14, learn the needs of those around you and respect them. 15, avoid the pursuit of happiness. Seek to define your mission and pursue that. 16, reduce your use of the first person personal pronoun. 17, praise at least as often as you disparage. 18, admit your errors freely and soon. 19, become less suspicious of joy. 20, understand humility. 21, remember that love forgives everything. 22, forget dignity. 23, live memorably. 24, love yourself. 25, endure. So there's 25 of them. So that
Nice.
he wrote at the end of that, I don't expect the perfect attainment of these principles. However, I post them as a standard for my conduct as an adult. Should any of my friends or colleagues catch me violating any of them, bust me. John Perry Barlow, October 3rd, 1977. He said he showed this list to Jerry Garcia a few weeks later, and he said, I hope your embarrassment insurance policy is paid up. Jerry. But a good guy overall. He left us quite a legacy in the Electronic Frontiers Foundation, EFF.org, if you don't know it. People ought to know it because it's what keeps the internet free. It's their mission. And
Yeah.
people from being able to lock it down. Because one of the things he saw was that anybody could say anything about anything on the internet, that there was real freedom of speech and real access to knowledge, which we didn't have before the internet was available. And that what he was seeing take shape was that noosphere, that noded network I was talking about earlier, where there's no privileged node, there's no privileged center here. There's only us equal with each other, maybe differently gifted or enabled through technologies, like we have the technology to talk to each other over this wire.
Indeed.
And that having that non-hierarchical network really surrounds us in a presence that Teilhard Chardin apparently said was capable of keeping God company. That was an interesting thought. I
That
thought,
is an interesting thought. I have not heard that one.
he was a Jesuit, so he's going to talk in those terms.
I like God language. I got no problem with that.
That noosphere, you could see that network forming, a network of knowledge, of awareness. And, trying to find the truth in any of this stuff is really hard. Trying to find a needle in a haystack, kind of like with your AI thing, right? Because an AI is using RAG, right, to get at a certain sector of information from a vector database, right, that it's sort of culled out of the haystack, a smaller haystack, and then it generates from that something plausible that may or may not be true. And
Right.
That's one of the things that chatbots are really legendary for now. And maybe we launched them too early. Maybe we put them into the hands of the public in a way that is going to just cause a colossal amount of mistrust. Although we already had it when you look at the misinformation campaigns.
We didn't need AI for that. No.
What's going on earlier?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have my doubts about whether or not we'll ever get anything together in this out of this sort of simian, primate kind of consciousness we've got. So
yeah, I mean, do you think what would it even look like? I mean, get something together. what does it take to evolve a primate? How long does it take? Can we do it mechanically? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, we're limited, is what I'm thinking, is the being human, and
Hmm.
we don't have access to, or maybe we do. It depends on your perspective. I mean, Philip K. Dick could probably say when he was hit with that pink light, he had access to infinite intelligence, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know.
What What do you do with that though? Yeah, not
Well,
that
he
you
managed
know.
to cure his son, right? And his son was had some sort of terrible medical
Hmm.
situation. Do you remember that one?
No, I didn't hear about that. No.
Oh, well, yeah, he became aware that his son had this problem, and I forget exactly the details, but he was right. And it
Hmm.
was the pink light that had let him know what this was, and that he
Hmm.
had this premonition and was able to, there's so many stories like that. You familiar with Swedenborg? Did we talk about that before?
I don't know if we did, but I am familiar. Yeah,
Handel
a
Swedenborg
little
and
bit.
how he like knew that his house was burning down in
Hmm.
Stockholm when he was in Gotland. He couldn't possibly know, but he was also aware of when his house was out of danger, and he was right. How can people know these things? How can information apparently be tapped into that they can
Hmm.
actually hear? I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
interested in these things. I actually threw this other book open to this thing, and I had my hat on that says zero on it.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's really weird that I would throw it open to that page, in which there's this little text down here that says zero is not this or that. It has no opposite. It simply is. And because it exists, it makes this and that possible.
There's that pleroma again.
And this is It All Matters by Joseph Wooten, who's known as the Hands of Soul.
Huh.
He's one of the Wooten brothers. Have you ever heard of the Wooten brothers?
Musician, I'm guessing from the
Yeah, you
image.
got to pick it up. Actually, he's been the keyboardist for the Steve Miller Band for over 30 years now.
Okay, there you go.
And he also is with his own brothers in a band called the Wooten Brothers. His two of his brothers, Victor and Roy, are in Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. We may have talked.
Oh, yeah, I love Bela Fleck. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've loved him since like the 90s.
So the bassist is Victor, and the drummer is Roy, or Future Man, as he's
Oh,
called. And,
nice.
their older brother Reggie is known as the teacher, and he taught the younger brothers how to play. He was guitarist, and Victor, then he was born. They say, he has bass hands. So from like 2 years old, he was playing bass.
Wow. Talk about being recognized as a child. Some people end up being
And
reincarnated Tibetan lamas. Other people are bass guitarists.
yeah, they would practice, and then they would go out and perform. And Reggie started training him all when he was like 10.
Wow.
So,
Whole band came in together one at a time.
there were five of them. Rudy died. He used to play multiple saxophones, kind of like Roland Kirk.
Mm.
Have you heard of Roland Kirk? Oh,
Yeah.
jazz, great of playing like multiple saxophones, flutes, things. He could,
Nice.
yeah, he would play like three reed instruments simultaneously. It was crazy. Anyway, I could go on and often do. And the idea is that, music is a language, and probably the primary language, drumming,
Mm-hmm.
shamanistic stuff. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
we ought to go there.
Um,
Do you do drum
oh,
circles things with your shamanistic stuff? Did they do that?
no, I've never been much of a drummer, although the shamanic practice that I was involved with was from Africa, so there was drumming. I was just not one to do well enough on the skins to be asked to drum. I was asked to do other things. I've been a fire tender a couple of times and organized some things, but the drumming was never my bag. Um, but it's definitely important. There's when you're in a ritual, when you're creating that space together, when you're sort of opening up to that pleroma or that sort of higher influence, you do want something that can sort of modulate the people's energy and kind of hold them in that community without it being too tight. You want to leave that room to breathe. So the drumming, you can kind of slow it down. You can speed it up if you want to kind of wake people up. If they're getting a little sleepy, you can kind of get them jump up again, and you kind of you help weave the consciousness through it, because every drum beat it's going to be one moment of like at least your subconscious cottoning on that something's going on. You wake up a little bit to that pa pum pa pum pa pum. So I think I think drums are good. They also I believe are reminiscent of like the mother's heartbeat in the womb. So it sort of connects us back into that original space. But yeah, yeah, it's definitely a core part of shamanic work, I think, but it's not something that I particularly offer myself. Do you do much music?
Fife and drum, and that's where
Yes.
my amplification of signals through the noise. That's the fife.
There's a fife. You also do the drum?
No,
Okay, you're a
that
fifer in the drum, the fife and drum corps.
I'm smart. So this is very light and requires very little maintenance to speak of. It's a little bit.
Hmm.
This one's a little worn, so you can see around the mouth hole there. It's really kind of lost its sheen.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah, it's been played a lot. This is the 50th anniversary fife that were made for the Colonial Williamsburg Fife and Drum alumni back in 2008 when we celebrated our 50th anniversary. I was 5 years away from being born when they started in 1958.
Uh-huh.
So that was good, because it really did sort of put the discipline in me that, when you fall in, and that's is a thing about being something that is not human any longer, right? You become
Mm.
just another component of something larger than yourself. And the
Mm.
individuality, the ego drops away. And you just, because you're trained, you know what to do and when to do it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you either do that or you don't. One of the two, right? And the performance is based on very simple rules because a fife is an incredibly simple instrument. I mean, it's only got 6 finger holes. You've got a 2.5 octave range on it, depending on the amount of air you put across it and the different fingerings. And being an old pitch fife, these actually aren't chromatic. So
Okay.
they're like the high E in particular is what is called a wolf tone, apparently, which I don't really know the details on, but that's what my old music master called it. He said these are wolf tones. These aren't really pure notes. They're close,
Animalistic.
not quite right, so there's a little
Wolf.
bit of discordance in the ear when they're hearing it. It's not an instrument for like concert pitch. There you can find concert pitch fifes that are, very chromatically correct, but they have to be made specially. And I had this guy on, Skip Healy, who's known as the world's greatest fifer in
Hmm.
Switzerland, and he makes fifes and um,
That's fun.
flutes, keyed flutes for Celtic music, in particular the wooden ones with keys.
Mm.
But these don't have any keys, and they're shrill. And the idea is to get sound out of them so that you can hear it over the sound of battle and that you can also hear it before you can see the enemy coming or something because of the smoke and haze of battle, in particular after gunpowder. Switzerland is where they were developed, but the Swiss used to use flags to indicate they were coming, but they were giving fair warning to their enemies because the Swiss were known for being particularly ruthless when it came to their military effectiveness. That's why there's a Swiss Guard at the Vatican.
Fair enough. When
Uh,
you're playing in the fife and drum corps, are you guys doing like are the songs meant to signal certain things? Is that the
well, certainly on the battlefield, yes. There's like
yeah?
for ceasefire. Anyway, repeated. It's very simple, and
Huh.
that way people will know what being signaled that ceasefire, stop, have a parley, with the enemy, that type of
Hmm.
thing. And
Friends with the enemy again.
then there are a lot of other calls that could be used, particularly in camp, um,
Mm.
like Pioneers March to send out the work details, roast beef of Old England to collect rations.
That's great.
There are a lot of tunes like that that are, just standard. You have them signaled around camp to tell the soldiers what to do and when to do it.
It was obviously prior to any kind of electronic PA system, kind of a thing.
or having a clock or a
Right,
watch.
right, right,
Just
right, right.
this, you do this ceremony when reveille would be beaten, and then there's the assembly to bring the troops out for inspection or something like that, and then it goes on. There's a tune assembly called drummer's call that would be beaten by one drummer and one fifer, and would pull the whole chord of fifers and drummers together for the regiment,
Oh wow.
because the fifers and drummers were a pair. With each company, you'd have a fifer and a drummer, and then they would be brought together for regimental ceremonies, but by and large they would just operate individually.
Like within like the platoons or the units or whatever, they'd be
Right.
stationed out with the troops.
When
That's
I
cool.
was in Williamsburg, we represented the Virginia State Garrison Regiment that was formed in 1778 to garrison places like the Powder Magazine, where the guns and powder were stored. And we would do things in camp like that. To just one, we just have duty fifers and drummers stationed there, and then the fifers would also have the opportunity to go out and entertain people in lines, because fifers can also be used for entertainment. You can play
Right.
dances and things like that on it. So a lot of the music for that was more folk, kind of Scottish and Irish stuff that we played. And,
Nice.
as far as marches, there's just a lot of different marches that could be used. We used to play one in particular that our music master really liked, which was actually composed by Beethoven. So it was a little late for the 18th century. It was actually composed in the 1800s, kind of a cheat. But Moon loved how it sounded and had a drum intro. So he was a drummer.
Fair enough.
I think I may have mentioned before, and maybe not with you, but our music master had been the youngest drum major in the history of the Scots Guards Regiment before coming to us to train us after he retired from the British Army.
Oh
And
wow.
he held a warrant as a drummer to the royal household. So he was really no joke. He had been raised in the Guards Regiment. He was able to join as a drummer boy at like the age of like 9. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So
Another case of being recognized as a musician very young.
he raised us, you know, in a way that was, I think, particular, because he had been raised that way too. He was
Mhm.
told what he was expected of him. In fact, they said that, he was taught, as a boy, to stand at attention and not to move. That was a big part of it. Just stand for an hour at a time or 2 hours, not moving at all.
Wow.
We've seen at Buckingham Palace, right? Those
Mm,
are guards regiment guys who
true.
are standing
Fair.
there, and you can't really get them to do anything.
No, I have tried, but it doesn't work. Professional gentleman, yeah.
There's something about music in general that's, um, I I think really unites people and can bring us all together. I was interviewing and unfortunately lost the Zoom recording, so I wasn't able to put it up on Substack, with a drummer named Denise Perrant, and
Hmm.
she's with a band called Brown Eyed Women, and another one called the Deadbeats, and another called the Misty Mountain Ramblers, and up near Woodstock, New York.
Oh, nice.
Does a lot of Grateful Dead cover stuff in particular, and she'll be also doing a radio show at WKZE called Covered in Dead on Monday nights, 7 to 9 p.m., I think is the time for that. So if anybody wants to go and listen to Denise, and she was talking about how the red and blue symbols of the Grateful Dead, and with our white 13-point lightning bolt between them, which is in the Steal Your Face logo, which is kind of a skull with that circular
Hmm.
thing, is emblematic of how it works with our whole society. Because when we get out on the dance floor, it doesn't matter if you're on the red side or the blue side, just
Mm.
music and all those external trappings, like I was talking about falling in with my fellow fifers and drummers. All the external trappings of the world drop away, and we become part of something larger than ourselves. and we work together in a performance that has high quality and or a quality. In the case of Grateful Dead's music, it's pretty chaotic, right? Um,
Mhm.
the mythologist Joseph Campbell became a late blooming deadhead himself. And you're familiar with Joseph Campbell, right?
Yes, very early heroes. Yes,
This is Thou Art That, one of my favorite books of his. Don't know if you're
nice.
familiar with Thou Art That, but
No, I don't think I am. I've read
it's
the
from the old
classic. But,
Sanskrit Tat Svamasi, I think it is, that it means thou art that. You are that thing that you're looking for, that
mhm.
we each have that divine spark within us. Anyways,
Unconscious God.
Campbell had said that he became a late blooming deadhead after attending his first Grateful Dead concert in 1986 at the age of 82. The
Wow.
experience inspired him to declare the psychedelic rock band the best answer today to the atom bomb because their music is calling up the common humanity. Campbell saw the concert as a Dionysian ritual and magic for the future that reminded him of ancient myths and rituals.
Nice.
And
There's Dionysus again.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good full circle thing there. I mean,
Yeah.
because what we are trying to do, I think, is have an experience of life, right? Of living.
Mhm.
And so I think it was Campbell who said that, that was what we were really after here. It's not so much meaning that we're needing, but we're needing that experience of whatever it is of having, really entered into our lives and living it fully without without any regret, I guess is the thing. And I think a lot of us do hold ourselves back. Um, and I think that's what you're trying to draw out with your practice too. You want to help people draw themselves out and become what they can be as
Mm.
opposed and if they're blocked somewhere to open that up. The artist's way thing is near and dear to me on that too. Somewhere around here I have uh, can I lay hands on it? Yeah, there it is right there. So, oh, get my bones up. I got to move around. That's one of the things about dancing, right? Is that you have to move. Good grief.
It's true. I try to dance an hour a day if I can. Just put on some music at home and boogie around. It's good exercise.
Yeah. You familiar with the parabola?
Oh, yes, very much so. It's very sad it is no longer with us, but I have several
What?
mini copies. Yeah,
What?
they closed their doors sometime last year. They put most of the PDFs online for a number of months, so I've got a good library of PDFs from them somewhere on my hard drives, but they're no longer with us. They're retired.
That's too bad because they were good.
I agree. I thought it was one of the best mythopoetic type story type teaching type magazines out there. It's Gurdjieff related if you didn't know.
I'm not surprised.
Oh,
There you go. Living the artist's way. This is
yeah, nice.
more recent ones, which is an intuitive path to greater creativity. One of these days, I actually got to crack it open.
Yeah, you gotta
Living the artist's
gotta
way.
work that binding out.
Yeah,
Taking all
and the morning pages thing is the one that's really the stumbling block for me. Like I said,
hmm,
Uh, it doesn't really. She says that most of her people really do it well, but have a
mhm.
problem with the artist's date.
That is more my experience. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't. I have quite the opposite experience. It's weird.
What happens with the morning pages for you? Like, do you sit there and you like
I
you
just don't.
want to say something but it's not right, or just nothing comes out?
Well, I don't really think that many words are necessary. I think
I
they're
mean,
like I said. I think there are far too many words, and language is not really helpful. It keeps us at a distance from life. It's the abstraction of language. So it frustrates me a little bit because I think that's it. I think that's I said it already.
hmm.
It
So you sit down to like, so
keeps you
if you've
in
tried
this.
this in the past, you sit like walk me through this. You sit down, you got the notebook open, you got the 3 pages, and you write
I
a
just run
sentence, and
out
you're
of
like,
words very quickly
this
because
is
I just
frustrating.
don't have that many words to say about it.
Hmm.
It's just
About
not
what?
that much inner anything, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It just becomes repetitive and silly from my view. I don't think it really empties out. I get the impression that other people have a lot more words inside of them than I do.
Hmm.
So I end up having very few words that I think work. Well, it's kind of like the idea of a fife being a very, damn it, simple instrument. Having things
Hmm.
fall off again. Yeah,
A stack of books.
yeah, I got to have stable foundations here. But you know, it only has a few notes, so you can actually play. So you're limited in that
Hmm.
way, and I think that's okay. I don't think
Yeah.
that it's necessary to have, it's kind of like the whole Mozart thing with Amadeus when the emperor says there are too many notes.
Then you find there's too many notes in the writing.
Right. I
Are
just
you
think
are you trying to write something
so
specific with it?
much talk, right? It's
Mm.
unnecessary. And therefore,
Great.
I really rebel at the whole idea of morning pages. I think it doesn't work for everybody. I think it's kind of silly, in my view. And I think the artist state thing is great. Get out there and participate in the world, film the passing show. Good with that.
Fill yourself up a little bit.
And take in from the world as opposed to pouring out.
Mm.
Right? And
Well, ideally, we want both, I think.
amplify, sure, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that people are so pretentious,
Mm.
think they're so special, and they're just primates, right? But just
Mm.
another iteration of the primate design. And we think we're separate from the environment, which also is frustrating to me. Um, and eventually, we're going to have to wake up to the fact that our language has really separated us from life. It's
Mm.
putting things at a distance. You see what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
Mm,
Like, that's how language
really?
it makes things of life, and then we get confused with the things.
Reification. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just it seems to me, and it seems to me that there are far too many people saying far too much and doing too little, or too little that is effective, or maybe they're actually doing too much in some ways. Because when it comes down to productivity, that cult of productivity, I think that's really
Mm.
going to run us down as well. I don't know. I could be wrong. That helps. That helps to recognize that I might not have all the information. I'm going to be taking a job pretty soon. Actually, Saturday, I'm starting a new one where I'm just going to be working front of house for a small cafe down the block.
Oh, we were talking about that last time. You got the job. Hey,
Yeah, finally they decided
congratulations.
I can actually come and work, and hopefully I'll get the details. I guess. I mean, it's kind of I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's at least it'll be something I can do and have a flow of money coming in. That'd be helpful.
Hmm. Yeah,
Not much.
always,
I mean,
always these days.
it's not going to be a lot. It's going to be basically minimum wage plus tips, and the tips aren't going to be that high. Apparently, is what I'm gathering, um,
Fair enough.
because they split up, kind of evenly across the staff. So front of house and back of house all get some of it, which is fair. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
wondering
for sure.
how that worked. But yeah, so we'll see.
So you haven't started that yet, though. I hear you saying that's this
Saturday.
weekend.
Saturday,
Okay,
I start the training and do 5 days, 6:30 to 1:30, and then we see how it flows out from there.
nice. So half day shift. That's not bad. Or not a half day. This is a morning to
7 hours.
early afternoon. Yeah,
Yeah, 7 hours a day for 5 days, and then we see what the shift work is like after that. It'll
nice.
be good if I can do it like Thursday through Monday or something. That Len needs my transportation services partly.
Mm,
So we'll see how that works out.
fair enough. Fair enough. Well,
Well,
good luck to you.
thank you, and good luck to you with the business. I wish we would talked more about that, and maybe give you the microphone back for a little bit to talk more about your business that you want to get underway with.
Yeah, well, like I sort of said at the beginning or early on in the conversation, I'm looking to um, work with people in a coaching guidance sort of a way, open ended.
Hmm.
Um, it's not therapy, but it's also not your typical goal oriented coaching. I want people to have a space where they feel safe exploring the things inside them that they feel stuck around
Yeah,
and that they feel like they've sort of been carrying around with them for so long that they just kind of grow numb to them. They kind of think like, oh, I guess this is just the way it is. And I really wish it wasn't this way, because I feel like in our lives, the places that rub us in that sort of frustrating, irritating way are the richest places to investigate. There's something is trying to get our attention there. Something in the subconscious wants our attention. It's usually something pretty young. Like I think you were saying something earlier about the stuff that we take on as kids that doesn't really do us any good. Um, I want to help people get free of that. So, and I think places where you feel stuck are the places that those are the keys. Those are the keys that get us free of our beliefs that aren't true, things that we think are true about ourselves that we don't need to carry anymore if we don't want to. But we gotta free ourselves from the net of that belief. So that's what I want to offer people. That's what I want to do with my life. That's what I feel called for. And I'm just looking for some sort of, I don't know, beta testers, trial run, guinea pigs, volunteers, brave souls that want to go on an adventure into their own mind and see what's there, see what we can make of it together. Yeah,
Well,
I,
I love it, and I hope that some people will pick it up and take it.
I hope so too. I hope so too.
How
Uh,
many do you have right now? Any?
I'm working with one person consistently right now,
Okay.
and I have a few others that I sort of they just sort of come in and they go. But ideally, this is like a once a week, 2 hours a session kind of thing. I find 1 hour is usually not quite long enough to dig in to where the real gold is. Um, at least with the methods that with that I use, I found the 2 hours really tends to blossom more fully. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking for 5 people. The idea is um, pay what you want after the fact. If you think it goes well, and you can afford to pay me well, I happily accept it. If we spend the 2 hours and you're like, I don't know, that didn't really work, because I'm still trialing this. I'm still trying to figure out how to work with people, who I can work with, what kind of people are a good fit for me. Well,
Mhm.
well, I'm a good fit for them. So if at the end of the 2 hours you're like, I don't know, I felt like I just sort of talked and didn't get anywhere, it's like, cool, then no worries. Like, if you want to throw me $20, $10, $5 for a coffee, great. If you say no, that wasn't worth my money, I got too many bills. Hey, no problem. Thank you for letting me practice. So that's
That's
the
good.
offer.
That's
That's the
really good,
offer.
kind offer. I, I think that
I
that's
just want to get going. I just want to start. I want to really get my teeth into this thing.
yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And you are doing it right now to some
I'm
extent,
trying,
right?
trying.
And the work is whatever is happening, is the way I
Yes,
look at it. When
yes.
it comes to the Gurdjieff work, the fourth
Or
way,
the alchemical work, the great work, any works.
the
Yeah.
great work. I did a little essay on that. I don't know if you caught it.
I
Um,
didn't. I've seen you drop alchemical stuff, but I haven't seen any particular like actual pieces from it. So I'll have to go look for that.
I'll have to go scan around for that. I'm actually looking at my own page, sort of. Well, there's profile. Maybe that's where I'll find it. And if it doesn't really have Substack's kind of frustrating sometimes. You're like, I think I have a search here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
It's a little hard
don't.
to navigate.
I can't search up my own stuff the way I want to. Actually, posts tend to work pretty well when you hit posts, but this wasn't a post. This was just a note. And
Ah, ah,
searching in notes, it can be done. I was helping a friend recently do that. And I don't know. It's interesting to me to just have interactions with people and see where some transformation happens, right? Because when two people meet, if anything
yes.
happens at all, both are transformed. That's a good Carl Jung quote there.
Amen to that. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, both are transformed.
There's that alchemy again.
I was looking into a essay that I found on the Joseph Campbell Foundation site. Some guy was writing from death to the Grateful Dead, and it's amazing what you can find out there on the net that people have generated. And this is an original card from the tarot deck of Jean Dodal of Lyon, a Marseille deck, and
Hmm.
nice image there.
Oh, nice. Yep. There's
Death.
both death and sort of a plowing, reaping, farming, harrowing kind of a thing.
And here's a death card from the Rider White Tarot deck. There.
Very different experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
A knight and a flag and a horse.
and there's somebody down here. Oh yeah, Bishop. If you look at that golden bishop in front,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Some sort of religious figure there. Interesting.
and these children down at the bottom. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, there's just fascinating stuff out there for people to use. Do you ever use tarot? I don't know much about it
Hmm.
myself.
Yeah, I've got my sister is big into it. She gifted me a Russian style deck many,
Mm.
many years ago that I pull it mostly for myself. I don't really provide services for people, although I could if somebody was interested, but it's not something I talk about.
It's one a friend of
Ooh,
mine did not too long back. It's a curved
nice.
Appalachian tarot deck. And apparently,
Fascinating.
yeah, my friend Genevieve did these, and she's based in Pittsburgh, so a lot of them are coming out of Pittsburgh lore.
I guess
I
it is
haven't,
Appalachia,
I
yeah.
haven't actually done much with them. I just ordered them from her. She got a little book for interpreting them, and the stories
Nice.
of each card, and
Very good, very good. Oh wow. Artist
all
magician.
these are related to somehow to the Pittsburgh lore of Western Pennsylvania, in particular Appalachia. Kind
Fair
of.
enough.
So yeah, it goes on.
Chariot looks like a car. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's a is it a car? What
Is
is it?
it? It's a little hard to make out over the screen. It looked like a Jeep or something.
I can't tell what it is, but it probably has something. No, it's a locomotive. I'm pretty sure. Whoop. See,
Oh yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. That looks like a Thomas the Tank Engine kind of face on.
yeah. So she did the art for these, and
Nice.
I wanted to support her doing it, so I kickstarted it and got myself a little deck. I was supposed to actually get a little session with them to like learn how to use them, but I was at the time just beginning that journey, whatever it is called Harrowings, and
Hmm.
I wasn't really ready for it. Now I got to figure out how to open it up again. Ooh, that's cool. It's a very cool little box. It's got with little magnets and the
Oh wow, that's
door. Oh,
intense.
yeah, that's kind of gross too, isn't it?
Ooh, yeah.
It's green. Um, Definitely haunted. Yeah, I love her stuff though. She's really talented, creative, and nudging the needle for other creatives is a big part of what I want to do here with the Harrowings. So, giving you a little airtime, and
Appreciate
we've
that.
been on almost 2 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Maybe we should.
you're gonna have to charge me your first customers.
If you want, I'm accepting donations.
Yeah. Am I not subscribing to you yet?
You
Uh,
you are. You have actually paid in advance.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing we can do too for each other. We can subscribe to each other, and that's one of the things that I try to offer is that people who are my subscribers are members of my board of directors for the Harold B. Gill Foundation, which protects and preserves the legacy of my late father.
Very
Um,
nice.
which somewhere in here, yeah, there it is. Among other things, I sometimes read little bits of Virginia to people.
Hmm.
It's his
Nice.
book he wrote back in when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
I remember him drawing this map on the dining room table of Virginia.
Oh wow.
He did that by hand.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it was. It could have probably been. He wasn't, so much a artist, but at least he did it. That was a big
Yeah.
part of what he was working on there for a while. I remember when I was a little kid, and it's nice to have that, kind of legacy to preserve. I've been thinking about him a lot because he died on April 7th, so coming up on the 2-year anniversary.
Hmm. Hmm.
And just passed the 2-year anniversary this week of the last time I saw him alive to the point where he could talk to me.
Hmm. I saw your
Took him
yeah, I
out
saw your
to dinner.
note on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I took him out to dinner, and he was able to drive his own car. Just 3 weeks and a day before he died, so that's good. It's
It's
good that
impressive.
he had his life together enough at 91 years old to not have to be in a senior living facility at that point, although it probably wouldn't have been a bad thing for them to have moved in before. I tried to get them to, but stubbornness. My mother
Yeah.
falling 3 months the day after he died. So it was a driving function to getting her into a senior living facility where she is now. Going down tomorrow to visit her for the monthly visit that I make.
Ah,
We're out to lunch, and hopefully she'll do all right with that. She's not much present anymore.
I mean, that
She'll
age,
be turning
a little hard.
87 shortly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's a pretty good run. But I
Yeah.
think she's probably going to soldier on to 100 if she doesn't like have a problem or something come up because
It's stable flow.
she's walking. She's doing about 2,000, 3,000 steps every day, and that's what she generally reports out on.
Okay. It's probably better than I'm doing. You
Uh,
doing anything for your dad? With the anniversary coming up, you doing any kind of like ritual offering?
no,
Uh,
this whole thing is that Herald
yeah.
publishing arm of the Harold B. Gill Foundation. So
Hmm.
that's the
It's your
company.
way of
This
memorializing.
It is an ongoing memorial, and everything I do is related to the fact that he was who he was, and the chain of connection. Obviously, we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
created by our parents and our parents' parents and our parents' parents' parents. And I know a lot about my genealogy, so I go back, into the Revolutionary War period, and I
Wow.
know the different people who are back there behind me and who, as Mr. Rogers said, loved us into being.
Hmm.
And he was getting
Nice.
a daytime Emmy award, I think, for lifetime achievement. He had his audience take a minute to think about the people that had loved him into being, and he timed it on his watch.
1 minute, no longer.
And there was not a dry eye in the house.
Ah,
Such
beautiful.
a nice touch and a simple thing.
He was
That's why
good
I
at
say
that.
it doesn't take that many words. It's not about spilling out, 3 pages of text every morning when I wake
Fair
up.
enough.
I'm usually kind of a blank slate in the morning, and I wanna soak in the words and not necessarily pour them out. So I
Hmm.
don't it's
Yeah.
that's
I mean, if
that's
it
why
doesn't work for you, it doesn't work. No practice works for
and,
everybody.
there's
Except
also
breathing.
this
Breathing works for everybody.
irritation, and I don't know if you find this to happen with
Hmm.
different people you've encountered over time. I mean, you're right. She is repackaging the 12-step program
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
making a profit off of it. And she's made a huge impact on people's lives with it, yes, in a positive way. But of course, it's also been very, very lucrative for her over the years as well. So I don't know. There's a tendency of envy towards that kind of,
Mm,
I think that a lot of us will experience if we're honest. I don't know. And
fair.
I try to choke it down and be happy for her, and I guess I am because she didn't give a crap.
Well, I'll
Oh,
be a
I
little provocative here. I think envy and jealousy are ways of discovering what we actually want for ourselves, but are too scared to admit.
maybe, or you can just basically be observant of people's shadow.
I think we're saying the same thing, sir.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's is it my shadow or is it the shadow of the other? I don't know. I think that it's both.
Why not both? Yep.
Yeah. And being aware of one's own shadow is very helpful. I think doing shadow work is something that I expect that your um, practice will.
Engaged in and familiar with, and somewhat offer, although it's definitely case by case basis.
Oh, I'm sure it's probably. I mean, that's the area that's so hard for people to look at.
Hmm. That's where all the gold is.
Maybe all of it.
Well, nothing's all, so probably not all of it, but there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Maybe. And yeah, everything is within the self at some level. I think.
Mhm.
that essential essence, that divine spark that is imprisoned in the flesh at birth.
It's given the flesh as a means of knowing itself. It's given the flesh as a means of testing itself, as a growing. The same way a infant isn't, when it's conceived in the womb, is not imprisoned in the womb, but you are stuck there for 9 months and you got to wait it out. Otherwise, you're in trouble. I think it's similar to that. I don't like the Gnostic prison thing. It rubs me the wrong way, but that's just me.
Oh
I
no,
could be wrong. I
no!
could be wrong.
I think there's something to explore in that. Allegations are largely propaganda. Okay, I was thinking about the Catharism, the Cathar beliefs.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with the Cathars already? We
Are
talked
they
about
the Templars or are they separate?
it's kind of separate, but Languedoc and France, right? They got
Okay.
wiped out during
Oh
the
yes,
fourth, Friday the 13th. No, that was not right. That was the
I think that was the Templars.
that w-
Friday the 13th.
maybe you're right. But the Cathars believed that the
Got my
physical
area.
world was created by an evil deity, which meant that they opposed procreation to avoid trapping more souls in fleshly bodies.
I mean, how? Okay, it's
Right?
not gonna lead very many good places for you as a people in a organization. But maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're better off.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I should look it up. I used to know more about it. Somebody's calling me from something I don't want to talk to them. But yeah, the quasi dualist and pseudo Gnostic movement, which thrived in northern Italy and southern France from the 12th to 14th centuries. They were denounced as a heretical sect by the Catholic Church, and its followers were attacked first by the Albigensian Crusade and later by the medieval Inquisition, which eradicated them by 1350. Thousands were
Hmm.
slaughtered, hanged, or burned at the stake. So there's a dangerous beliefs.
I mean, why'd they bother? The people wanted out anyway. They should have just let them alone. I
Well,
mean,
they've gotten out. It's kind of like the Shakers. They were kind of averse to procreation and died out as a result. Are you familiar with
I
them?
did not know that. I mean, I was not familiar with that element of them. I thought they were more of a
Simple.
one-on-one interaction with God, no clergy, no structures, and being a group together. The shaking being part of the sign of like the spirit coming upon you. But I didn't know that about procreation.
Kind of
That's
like the
interesting.
Quakers. I think the
Are
Quakers.
they not the same? I had sort of equated them in
No,
my head.
they're not. They're not. Quakers are still around. The Friends Meeting House is right next door to
Yes.
where I live, practically here.
Oh, nice.
They tend to the inner light, which I also
Yes.
sort of get down with. And there are atheist
Same.
friends, which is kind of an interesting thing too.
I did not know that.
They accept, that some people just do not believe in a deity at all. And there's unprogrammed and programmed Quaker worship. I used to like to go to the unprogrammed one, which people would basically sit in silence for the
Hmm.
worship. No talking.
Fair enough.
Unless the spirit moved you, which it never did. But in the case of programmed worship, there's more talking. And I I'm good with no talking.
Me too. I've got a strong Zen background. I like that.
Yeah. And maybe that's where I'm going with the thing about morning pages, getting words out, and then I can get like a page or an aphorism down, but after that, I'm kind of done. And I kind of like that idea, like your enemy is your friend that we started out with.
Hmm.
And I think the reason the enemy is a friend is that because it's like the shadow work. Your enemy is a projection of your shadow onto somebody else, and that which there was no Nietzsche phrase apparently that in fighting monsters, be careful not to become one yourself, and the idea of enantiodromia, that things are constantly in a condition of becoming their opposite.
Hmm.
That's another good John Perry Barlow one for you. Maybe I'll share those with you sometime. I think that'd probably be helpful, or maybe I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll see
I
where it
love
goes.
passing things on, though. I love sharing whatever I've got, in hopes that it'll click with somebody and maybe they'll pick it up and carry it on. Because
Hmm.
it's not much good if it's kind of like The Gift. Did we talk about The Gift and Lewis Hyde before?
I think so. Yeah, I remember Lewis Hyde coming up. Yeah, yeah.
And like
Gift economy.
the idea is that the gift has to stay in motion because when you receive it, if you hold it to yourself, it putrefies and corrupts.
Hmm.
Worms is the way Emerson put it in
Ah,
Compensation. Have you ever read Compensation by Emerson?
no, I've not read much Emerson.
That's not too long, and it's available as a YouTube where you can just listen to it. And
Okay.
it's Emersonian language, so you have to sort of get past his rather flowery way of articulating himself. But it's a lot of it's very beautiful. They made us all read like Self Reliance when I was in high school. Did you have to read that?
No, I managed to dodge that one. Yeah.
That was because we were made to read it. It didn't really sink in as much, but there was yeah, it's advanced English. I think I was in like 11th grade, and we had this volume of books. And my friend and I, he like destroyed it because he was so put out with it. I think, but it was actually a good compendium. Was it like Norton American Literature, something like that?
Oh, I think there was a book I burned in high school, after the class was over. I was like, it wasn't literature. I would never burn any literature. I think maybe it was a history book. And I think that spoke more to the teacher, who I will not name, than the subject. I do remember being so fed up with the class that I was like, this just needs to go in the fire, all the pieces. I need to transform this. I'm done with it.
Transform it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Turn it to its elements.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's where we're all going eventually anyway. I mean, well, all the atoms will remerge into some other pattern and eventually we'll come back again. I was watching this thing called The Trip to Infinity. I was about to mention it earlier about midway through our talk here.
Hmm.
Have you ever see that? It's on
No, I don't know about it.
Netflix, A Trip to
Okay.
Infinity. And they have this thing where they put an apple in a box and then like the apple disintegrates and it stays in there for like billions of years and then will turn to by dint of infinity, it has to return to being not only an apple again, but everything else is possible for it to be.
Fair enough.
Only because the different states of things will change over time. I don't know. That it's hard to get my head around infinity that way and the infinite time and how things and I don't know.
Yeah, it ends up being kind of useless. What am I going to do with it?
But I really do enjoy talking with you. I'm 2 hours has flown by. I
I
don't know
agree.
if you have any other comments. Doesn't look like it. We have had a few other people join here and there. So
That's
a
true.
total of 20. That'd
It's not
be
too
us
bad.
two and 18 others. So, and it'll be out there on YouTube when we wrap it
Yes,
up.
sir. Sounds good. Well, lovely
Thank
chatting.
you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I've
Likewise.
always enjoyed it, even though it's like all over the map, right?
That's what I came for. That's what happened last time. That seems to be what we do.
Maybe we can do
Yeah.
something structure next time.
We'll have to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Well,
right, sir.
I'll end it here. Thanks so
Have a
much.
good day.
Take care.